بسم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد فهذه ليلة الجمعة ليلة عظيمة مباركة يسن فيها الإكثار من الصلاة على سيدي ومولاي رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه من كل عمل صالح. This night of Jumu'ah, it's a very blessed night. There's a lot of barakah in this night. The sunnah is to increase your salah upon the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام and all good deeds. I'm going to stop talking about the issues of marriage. I don't think I can continue to talk about something while we continue to receive this influx of images of people being pulled from out the rubble, children without families, and those that are being wrapped up in white cloth, as if I've never thought in my lifetime that we would witness something like this, with support of governments that have some degree of representation of people within them. It was one thing for it to happen from governments that are totalitarian in their approach. That's understandable. We know where that comes from. But for it to happen with the support of governments that claim to have some representation of people within them is just very difficult to comprehend. And what it tells you is that whatever is set up in this world in terms of safety measures or safety valves or organizations, they're just for show. They're just to keep those who put them there to be able to use them when they want to use them when it suits them, when it serves their interests. When it doesn't, they don't have any weight at all. They have no importance whatsoever. We always knew this. Like I can't say that I didn't, but it's never happened in such a blunt manner. You see, within the struggle of power in the world, courtiers have always been are forced to play the game of being ethical and being moral in order for them to continue to be in power. That's how it works. This is a struggle that's been the story of the world since the world has existed. And you can't gain power, gain popularity by being bluntly racist and hateful. It doesn't work that way. You have to play the game. You have to dance around things, and you have to be good at concealing your intentions. It's always been the king sits, and the courtiers they play the game to see who can win the affection of being popular and being. So today it's not happening anymore. It doesn't matter. It's just bluntly the opposite. Yes, we're gonna slaughter these people, and we're gonna force them out, and there's nothing you can do about it. And yes, it doesn't matter how many courts or how many international organizations points out that this shouldn't be happening. They keep on doing it anyways, because these organizations had no weight to begin with. They didn't have any importance or significance from the beginning. It's just now becoming very clear to everyone else that it is. And I can't imagine what's going to happen next in the world with that being the case. Because how are the countries that are clearly and openly ignoring all of the calls from international organizations that they put in place, how are they going to later on use that card to stop other things from happening? Like, who's going to listen to this in the future? It's not just about us, it's about the world in general, and keeping the peace and making sure that the sanctity of life is respected all across the board. But I guess when it comes to us, it's just not. And that's just very alarming. I'm extremely concerned about what's going on. This is kind of weird. Since World War II, this has not happened in the way that it's happening right now, where there's a clear and open act of neglect towards ethics and morals and principles that the globe has agreed upon. Now, before, when things like this happen, there's always a way to argue it in terms of where you stand. But right now, there's really nothing to argue. They're just not going to listen, and that's just very concerning in my opinion. Which is why we are forced again, or this is forcing us again to reapproach or revisit our approach to this problem altogether. As Muslims within the West, we have to rethink it. We thought that maybe we have to rethink this again of how we are going to deal with this problem internally. The hadith I want to share with you is a good way to kind of go back and think. يروي الإمام أحمد في مسنده بسند حسن وأبو داود في سننه وغيرهم بأسانيد صحيحة كلها عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول لثوبان. The hadith I narrate to you, you've heard before, but this is the narration I'm choosing. It's in the collection of Imam Ahmad, has an authentic chain narration. Abu Hurairah is narrating it. He said, I heard Thawban, the Prophet ﷺ saying to Thawban, يقول كيف أنتم يا ثوبان إذا تداعت عليكم الأمم من كل أفق كتداعيكم على قصعة تصيبون منها. What are you going to do with Thawban when the day comes when all the nations around you will be inviting one another to take shots at you, to take from your wealth or take from your integrity or your dignity, as you do when you're offering each other food. As you sit in front and when you bring your guests and you offer, and there's food and you're offering people here, take some, no, you take some. فقال بأبي أن ثوبان فقال بأبي أنت وأمي يا رسول الله أمن قلة بنا. So he said, oh Rasulullah, I sacrificed my life and my parents for you. Is it because there's few of us that day? فقال لا بل أنتم يومئذ كثير ولكن يلقى في قلوبكم الوهن. No, that day there's many of you, but wahn is thrown into your hearts. فقال ما الوهن يا رسول الله. What is wahn? What is how and the word has an Arabic meaning. But Thawban is intelligent. He's like, yeah, of course you're using this phrase. You must have a definition for it, Ya Rasulullah. That's more than just the meaning of it, which is weakness. What do you mean? Like elaborate. So he did. عليه الصلاة قال حبكم للدنيا وكراهيتكم للموت. The love that you have for the worldly matters and the excessive fear that you have of death, of mortality. It's not wrong to love the life that you have, and it's not wrong to fear death. Both of these things, by the way, are very natural and human. Like they're normal. No, you're not supposed to want death. You're not supposed to hate the life that you're living in. But it's when those two things allow you or get you to compromise your values or your principles. When these two things put you in a position where you sell out, where you no longer commit to that which you believe in, where you're no longer able to speak the truth or be the person that you know you should be or follow the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When these two things, when you love the dunya to the point and you're fearful of death to the point where you're willing to draw a blind eye to other people's pain and suffering, when those two things cause you to see what's occurring in the world and still not make a decision of changing who you are and walking down a different path in life and making decisions or choices that will allow you to be someone who is much more productive and much more adherent to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching you, understanding that if you're the love of dunya, this wanting of more, of materialistic things and this illusion of living forever and just refusing the concept that your life is going to end too, just like their lives are ending prematurely, your life will end too. If those two things are so powerful that then the ummah will become weak. Because the people will become weak. Because you have no azima anymore. Because people who are running after worldly things, acting like there's no end to it, there's no akhirah, there's no death and then accountability, you can't speak logic into their ears. They can't listen to it. They're not listening to it because they're so distracted and preoccupied with something else. So the Prophet ﷺ said, no, there's lots of you. It's fine. Numbers are fine. It's just the way you're living is different. You guys are not, at that point, you're just running after dunya. You don't want more. Whatever it is you have, you want more of it. And you're acting like death doesn't exist, like you're not going to be held accountable, like you're not going to cease to exist one day. You're acting like you're living forever. Like this life is, the only way to live is, you don't know if there's a tomorrow. So you live today to the best of your ability so that if you don't see tomorrow morning, you can stand in front of God and you have a way to argue your way through it. If there's any milestone that you're waiting for, in order for that to be possible, then you're doing it wrong. If you're like, no, I can't, if I die tonight, I'm not going to do well. But inshallah, if I get to that point, then you're not living right. No, you have to live in a way where if tonight your life was to end, you had something. You have something. So no, I have something to argue with. It's not perfect, but I have something. I have something to go for. Like I wasn't living life as if there was no tomorrow or as if there's no end to it, and I wasn't running after dunya as if there's nothing else that was valuable. And Ali Sallallahu was very accurate. He was a bullseye in explaining it. And that's why we are where we are right now. That's where we are. You have to remember that as a Muslim practitioner, as someone who practices Islam, you're a part of a minority. Not on the globe. No, amongst your own faith. You're a part of a minority within your own faith. Within your own deen, you're a part of a minority. It's nothing to be proud of. It's just something to remind you that if you want that to change, that you have to, if you're a part of the minority, and if you look at yourself, you're like, well, I'm not doing very well, then what do you expect? If this is the minority that is practicing, and if you don't feel like you're doing well, then what are you going to talk about everyone else? We have a long way to go. We have to get ourselves in a position where we're doing better so that we can get the majority that is not, so they can come back again and practice so that we can actually see change in the future. That's a lot of work. That may be too much work for some. It may be. I don't think it is, but it may be. we're a part of a small group. The majority of Muslims in any community don't come to masajid. They don't adhere to anything. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you one of the fortunate ones, one of the lucky ones where you come, then you have to really make sure that you take a good long look at yourself and see where you are and make sure that you work on it so that later on you can go and reach out to that person who's a little bit lost and find their way so they can find through you their way back. And then hopefully through all that the status of our ummah changes, and that definition that he left us with alayhi salatu does not stain us for the rest of our lives. يروي الإمام أحمد في مسنده بسند صحيح عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يقول لثوبان كيف بكم يا ثوبان إذا تداعت عليكم الأمم من كل أفق كتداعيكم على قصعة تصيبون منها فقال بأبي أنت وأمي يا رسول الله من قلة نحن ومن قلة منا فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم لا بل أنتم يومئذ كثير ولكن يلقى في قلوبكم الوهن فقال ما الوهن يا رسول الله قال حبكم للدنيا وكراهيتكم للموت صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. الحمد لله لا إله إلا أنت استغفرك